The massive Draconian warship cut through space like a blade, its dark hull absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Admiral Zornthar stood at the command center, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue-green planet grow larger on the main display. "Status report," he demanded, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the command deck. 300 warships in formation, Admiral, replied his second-in-command. "All weapons systems at full power. The humans have detected our approach. Their primitive satellites are tracking us." Zornthar allowed himself a small smile. The Draconian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade alone. Each victory had been swift and absolute. Earth would be no different. "Send the ultimatum," he ordered. "They have 6 hours to surrender control of their planet, or we will reduce their major cities to ash." Across the solar system, on Earth's largest orbital defense station, Commander Lucy Martinez stared at the incoming data with growing horror. The coffee cup slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she said to her communications officer. "Now." The young officer, barely out of training, looked up with wide eyes. "All channels are jammed, Commander. The alien signals are blocking our regular frequencies." Lucy closed her eyes for a brief moment, steadying herself. When she opened them again, her voice was calm and clear. "Switch to the backup system. Protocol Omega. If that doesn't work, send a shuttle down with the data." 30 minutes later, inside the underground command center beneath Washington, D.C., General Richard Powell faced the hastily assembled United Nations Emergency Council on the large video screen. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing an extinction-level threat," he said without preamble. 300 alien warships are currently passing Jupiter's orbit. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their weapons could destroy our civilization. The room erupted in panic. The Russian representative shouted about nuclear options. The Chinese delegate demanded proof. The British ambassador sat in stunned silence. "Quiet." Powell's voice cut through the chaos. "We have received their message. They demand our complete surrender within 6 hours, or they will attack." "Can we negotiate?" asked the French representative. Powell shook his head. "They're not interested in talking. Based on the limited communications we intercepted, this species, they call themselves Draconians, have conquered multiple worlds. They see us as primitive, easy prey." The President of the United States stepped forward. Her face was pale but determined. "What options do we have, General?" Powell glanced at Dr. Alan Rodriguez, who stood quietly in the corner of the room. The physicist gave a barely perceptible nod. "Madam President, members of the Council, we have 24 hours before they reach Earth orbit, and we're going to use every minute of it." In the silence that followed, Powell activated a hidden panel on the conference table. A holographic display appeared, showing 7 locations around the globe. 3 years ago, after the mysterious energy burst from the Kuiper Belt, Dr. Rodriguez and his team made a discovery that we kept classified. Something that changed our understanding of physics. We developed a defense system called Operation Labyrinth. The council members leaned forward, their faces lit by the blue glow of the hologram. "We never thought we'd need to use it," Powell continued. "The risks are enormous. But right now, it's our only hope." Above Earth, in her defense station, Lucy Martinez watched the massive alien fleet continue its approach. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Sam Wilson, stood beside her, his young face tense. "They say these Draconians have never lost a battle," Wilson whispered. Lucy's eyes remained fixed on the display. "Then they've never faced humans before." In his command ship, Admiral Zornthar received the humans' response to his ultimatum. He read it twice, then laughed. "They refuse to surrender," he told his war council. "These primitives believe they can fight us." His senior officers joined in his laughter. All except one, the oldest and most experienced among them. "Admiral," the old warrior said quietly, "our scans show unusual energy readings from the planet. Something we haven't seen before." Zornthar dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Their primitive technologies pose no threat to us. Prepare the fleet for battle formation. By tomorrow, Earth will be another trophy of the Draconian Empire. The old officer bowed and left to carry out his orders. But as he walked through the massive warship, a strange feeling settled in his chest, something he had not felt in his long military career. It felt uncomfortably like doubt. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Alan Rodriguez worked frantically at his control station. The underground facility hummed with activity as scientists and engineers rushed to prepare the experimental quantum device. Power levels are stable at 87%, called out Dr. Olivia Bennett, her fingers flying across her keyboard. But I don't know how long we can maintain it. Alain wiped sweat from his forehead. The device before them, a massive ring of specialized equipment surrounding a central platform, had never been tested at full capacity. It was designed to study quantum boundaries between dimensions, not as a weapon. This was never meant to be weaponized, Alan said quietly to Karen Morris, the military liaison who had arrived hours earlier. We were researching dimensional boundaries, trying to understand the fabric of reality. Karen's expression remained grim. Well, now it's our only hope of survival. The secure phone on the wall buzzed. Alan answered it, listening intently before hanging up. That was General Powell. The other 6 facilities are online. Antarctica is at 93% power, Australia and Japan at 85%. Brazil, Canada, and South Africa all reporting ready. Karen nodded. And the Draconians. 12 hours from Earth orbit. On the main Draconian warship, Admiral Zornthar studied the holographic display of Earth. Small dots indicated the locations of human military bases, population centers, and power facilities. His tactical officer, a younger Draconian named Krex, approached with a data tablet. Admiral, our sensors have detected unusual energy signatures from the planet, Krex reported, showing 7 blinking points on the map. They began appearing 2 hours ago. Zornthar examined the data with narrow eyes. What kind of energy? Unknown, sir. Our science division says it resembles quantum fluctuations, but on a scale they've never seen before. The Admiral made a dismissive gesture. Their primitive fusion weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Continue monitoring, but proceed with the invasion plan. He turned to his war council. Prepare boarding parties for resource acquisition after the main bombardment. Back on Earth, in the Pentagon's deepest level, General Powell met with the President and a small group of military leaders. The large screen showed the positions of the approaching alien fleet. Operation Labyrinth is nearly ready, Powell reported. All 7 nodes will be fully operational within 3 hours. And what exactly will happen when we activate it? The President asked, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. Powell glanced at the chief scientist beside him, Dr. Samantha Wiley from NASA. We're creating a quantum field around Earth, Dr. Wiley explained. Theoretically, it will shift anything within its range slightly out of phase with our dimension. Theoretically, the President repeated. We've never tested it at this scale, Dr. Wiley admitted. The power requirements are enormous. And there are risks. What risks? Dimensional instability. Potential damage to the fabric of space-time itself. The room fell silent. Finally, the President spoke. And if we don't use it? The Draconians will destroy our major cities, kill millions, and enslave the rest, General Powell said bluntly. Based on their communications, this is their standard procedure. The President closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her decision was made. Activate Operation Labyrinth. In orbit around Mars, Commander Lucy Martinez received new orders on her secure channel. She gathered her team in the command center of their defense station. We're changing tactics, she announced. Our defense satellites will pull back to lunar orbit. We'll launch only a minimal resistance. Lieutenant Wilson looked confused. We're retreating. No, Lucy said with a small smile. We're setting a trap. The Draconians need to believe we're in disarray, that their victory is certain. They need to spread their fleet in standard attack formation over Earth. But why? Asked another officer. Lucy's eyes gleamed with fierce determination. Because when they do, every single one of their ships will be within range of our quantum field. And then, if the scientists are right, the most powerful armada in the galaxy will simply vanish. In his private quarters, Admiral Zornthor reviewed the final invasion plans. Victory was assured. It always was for the Draconians. Yet something about this primitive planet bothered him. The energy readings were unlike anything in their extensive records of conquered worlds. "Computer," he commanded, "show me those energy signatures again." As he studied the pulsing signals coming from Earth, a small doubt crept into his mind. But he pushed it away. After all, what could a Level 2 civilization possibly do against the might of the Draconian Empire? He was about to learn the answer. The Draconian Armada entered Earth orbit with overwhelming confidence. Their fleet of 300 warships spread out in a classic invasion pattern, positioning themselves above major cities and military installations across the globe. From space, the massive vessels looked like dark storm clouds gathering over the blue planet. Admiral Zornthor watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The humans had launched only a few interceptors from their lunar bases, which his gunners destroyed easily. Their global communication showed panic and confusion. "Their resistance is even weaker than expected," remarked Krex, studying the incoming data. "Military channels indicate widespread retreat." Zornthor nodded. "As predicted, begin the first wave of bombardment in 20 minutes. Target their defense installations first, then government centers." Krex hesitated, then pointed to his screen. "Admiral, those energy signatures we detected earlier have intensified. 7 locations are now showing massive power buildups." The display showed pulsing red dots at each location: Switzerland, Antarctica, Australia, Japan, Brazil, Canada, and South Africa. Something about their arrangements seemed deliberate. "Put it on the main screen," Zornthor ordered. When the pattern appeared before him, the Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. The 7 points formed a perfect geometric pattern around the planet, like a net. "Scan those facilities immediately," he commanded, "and move 3 ships to investigate each location." In the Antarctic facility, Dr. Nicole Fisher worked frantically at her control station. Ice formed on the metal walls as the enormous power drain caused the heating systems to fail. Her team wore thick parkas as they monitored the quantum generators. "All nodes are aligned and powered," she reported through chattering teeth to the global command channel. "The quantum field is stable at 97%. We can only maintain this for 18 minutes before critical failure." General Powell's voice came through the speaker. "That will be enough. The Draconian fleet is in position. All facilities, prepare for synchronized activation on my mark." Dr. Fisher turned to her team. "This is it. Whatever happens next will determine the future of our planet." One of the younger scientists looked up nervously. "Do you think it will work?" "It has to," she replied simply. On the main Draconian warship, alarms suddenly blared. Krex rushed to the Admiral's side. "Sir, 3 ships at the outer edge of our formation have disappeared from sensors." Zornthor rose from his command chair. "Disappeared? Explain." "They're just gone, sir. No explosion, no debris. Our communications with them have ceased completely." "Stealth technology," the Admiral demanded, but his officers had no answers. Another alarm sounded. 5 more ships had vanished. Then 12 more. Panic began to spread through the command deck as reports flooded in from across the Armada. "Sir, something is happening to space itself around our ships," cried a sensor operator. "Energy readings are off the scale." Zornthor opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Retreat beyond lunar orbit immediately." But it was too late. A visible wave of distortion rippled through space, warping the stars behind it. As it passed through each Draconian vessel, the ship simply faded from existence, not destroyed, but removed from reality itself. In the Swiss facility, Alan Rodriguez watched the quantum field metrics with growing alarm. Red warning lights flashed across his control panel. "The dimensional boundary is becoming unstable," he shouted to his team. "We're pulling too much mass across. The field wasn't designed for this many objects." Dr. Bennett looked up from her station, face pale. "If we shut down now, will the ships return?" "I don't know," Alan admitted. "This is beyond anything we tested." In orbit, Commander Lucy Martinez watched in awe as the mighty Draconian fleet vanished ship by ship. On her communications channel, she heard frantic messages from the alien vessels, their first and only sign of fear. Then, nothing but silence. "Lieutenant Wilson, status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite her shock. Wilson stared at his display in disbelief. "All enemy ships have vanished, Commander. 300 warships just gone." In Antarctica, Dr. Fisher watched as the power levels dropped dangerously. "General Powell, we can't maintain the field. Systems are overloading." "Shut it down," came the immediate reply. "All facilities, power down immediately." As the 7 quantum generators around the world powered down, the strange distortion in space faded. Earth's defenders held their breath, waiting to see if the Draconian fleet would reappear. Minutes passed, then hours. The skies above Earth remained empty. The dreaded Armada, terror of the galaxy, had simply vanished. And no one, not even the humans who had caused it, fully understood what had happened, or where the Draconians had gone. 3 days after what people now called the Silent Victory, Earth was both celebrating and confused. News channels around the world showed footage of empty skies where the alien ships had once been. Scientists struggled to explain what had happened in terms ordinary people could understand. In the main conference room at the Pentagon, General Powell faced a table of exhausted but triumphant team leaders. Dr. Alan Rodriguez was noticeably absent, along with several other key scientists who had fallen ill after the quantum field activation. "The President will address the United Nations in 2 hours," Powell said. "Before that, I need to know exactly what we did to those ships. Where did they go?" Dr. Olivia Bennett, now leading the science team in Alan's absence, stood up. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had barely slept since the event. "We don't know for certain," she admitted. "The quantum field was designed to shift objects slightly out of phase with our reality. In theory, the Draconian ships should have been pushed into an adjacent dimension, a sort of pocket universe that runs parallel to our own." "Are they destroyed?" asked the military commander. "No," Olivia replied. "They likely still exist, just not in our space. They're somewhere else, somewhere we can't reach, and hopefully, they can't return from." The room fell silent as everyone considered this. Finally, Commander Lucy Martinez spoke up from her video feed from orbit. "The quantum facilities. Can we use them again if another alien fleet comes?" Dr. Nicole Fisher shook her head. Her face was pale, and her hands trembled slightly. Like many who had been present at the facilities during activation, she showed signs of what medical teams were calling quantum exposure. "All 7 facilities are damaged beyond repair," she explained. "The power surge melted critical components. The dimensional technology is too unstable for regular use. We got lucky this time." As the meeting continued, an urgent message came through. A small ship had been detected approaching Earth from beyond Mars. It wasn't Draconian. Another alien vessel. General Powell asked sharply. The communications officer checked his screen. "Yes, sir, but very different design. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. They're asking to speak with Earth's leaders." 6 hours later, in a heavily guarded conference room at the United Nations headquarters in New York, the first official diplomatic contact with the wider galaxy began. The alien representative called herself Ambassador Nelta of the Araxian Republic. She looked almost human, except for her silver-toned skin and large violet eyes. "The Galactic Concord sends its regards to Earth," she said, her translator device converting her musical language to English. and its profound curiosity. Your world was deemed incapable of resisting even a minor draconian force, yet you eliminated their central armada without apparent weaponry. She paused, looking at each human face around the table. The Concord requires an explanation. The president glanced at General Powell. They had already discussed how much to reveal. We defended ourselves using the unique property of physics discovered by our scientists, the president said carefully. The technology was experimental and cannot be replicated. Ambassador Nelta's expression showed she wasn't satisfied with this answer. The Draconians have conquered 17 star systems in the past decade. They have enslaved billions. Their technology was centuries beyond yours. Yet they vanished without debris, without energy signatures, without any trace. She leaned forward. Do you understand what this means? Every world in the Concord now looks to Earth with either hope or fear. Some see you as saviors. Others worry you may be an even greater threat than the Draconians. In his hospital bed across town, Dr. Alan Rodriguez opened his eyes for the first time since the quantum field activation. His skin was covered in strange, branching patterns that glowed faintly in the dim room. The medical team had never seen anything like it. A nurse noticed he was awake and rushed to his side. Dr. Rodriguez, can you hear me? Alan tried to speak, but his voice was weak. The ships, I can see them. What ships, Doctor? His eyes, now strangely luminous, stared past her at something no one else could see. They're still there, just on the other side, and they're trying to find a way back. At the United Nations, the president made a decision. Ambassador Nelta, Earth seeks peaceful relations with the Galactic Concord. We have no imperial ambitions. We simply defended our home. What she didn't say was that Earth now faced an impossible choice. Tell the truth about Operation Labyrinth and risk being seen as too dangerous to exist, or maintain the mystery and use the galaxy's fear as a shield while they prepared for what might come next. Because if Alan Rodriguez was right, the Draconians weren't gone forever. And next time, they would be ready. 2 weeks after Earth's first contact with the Galactic Concord, the planet was flooded with alien visitors. Scientists, diplomats, and investigators from dozens of species arrived in ships of all shapes and sizes. They orbited Earth like curious birds, requesting permission to study the site of the impossible victory. Chief Investigator Solvar arrived with the most advanced team. His species, the Eldorani, were known across the galaxy as master scientists and problem solvers. His long, thin body moved with graceful precision as he inspected the remains of the Swiss quantum facility. There is something you are not telling us, he said to Dr. Olivia Bennett, who had been assigned as his guide. These energy patterns make no sense according to standard physics. Olivia maintained a neutral expression. We shared all our data with the Concord delegation. The technology was experimental and unstable. Solvar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of disbelief among his kind. I have solved the mystery of the Cassiopean void and traced the origin of the quantum nebula. This should be simple by comparison. But after 3 weeks of intensive scanning and analysis, even Solvar was baffled. His final report to the Concord Council contained a conclusion no one expected. There is no debris, no radiation signature consistent with known weapons, he stated to the gathered representatives of 32 spacefaring civilizations. According to our analysis, the Armada didn't just disappear, it never arrived in the first place. The council chamber erupted in confusion. Ambassador Nelta rose from her seat. Explain, investigator. The timeline has been altered, Solvar said. My team detected traces of quantum displacement that suggest the ships exist in a state that is neither past, present, nor future. They have been shifted outside the normal flow of time and space. As the Concord debated this impossible finding, Earth faced dramatic changes. News of the human miracle spread throughout the galaxy. The consequences were immediate and far-reaching. On 17 planets formerly under Draconian control, rebel forces took advantage of the power vacuum. Slave populations rose up against their remaining overseers. Colonial governors found themselves surrounded by formerly subjugated species who now saw hope for the first time in generations. On the desert world of Arvaxis Prime, 10,000 former slaves gathered in the central plaza. Their leader, a scared veteran named Jorax, raised a crude image of Earth. "The humans have shown us the Draconians can be defeated," he shouted to the crowd. "Their empire is not invincible. Today we reclaim our world." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as the news spread from system to system. On Earth, Commander Lucy Martinez monitored the incoming reports with mixed feelings. From her newly expanded orbital command center, she watched as alien ships continued to arrive daily. Another trade delegation requesting landing clearance, reported Lieutenant Wilson. "This one is offering advanced propulsion technology in exchange for meetings with our defense specialists." Lucy sighed. "Direct them to the diplomatic corps. Same as the others. There's also a message from General Powell. Dr. Rodriguez is asking to speak with you personally. His condition has changed." In his specialized hospital room, Alan Rodriguez no longer looked entirely human. The glowing patterns on his skin had spread, and his eyes had taken on a silvery quality that seemed to see beyond normal space. When Lucy entered, he turned to her immediately, though the doctors had said he was blind to normal light. "Commander," he said, his voice strangely resonant. "Thank you for coming. Dr. Rodriguez, the reports say you're experiencing unusual symptoms." He smiled faintly. "That's one way to put it. I can see them, Commander. The Draconians. The quantum exposure changed me. Part of my consciousness exists in both dimensions now." Lucy felt a chill. "You can see the Draconian fleet?" "Yes. They're trapped in a pocket dimension adjacent to ours. They can observe us faintly, but can't interact with our reality." His expression darkened. "But they're studying what happened. Their scientists are brilliant. Given enough time, they might find a way back." Lucy watched the strange patterns moving under his skin. "How long do we have?" "Months, maybe. Less if they realize I can perceive them. They don't know yet that there's a connection." In orbit around Earth, a small scout ship from the Galactic Concord captured unusual readings from the hospital. Inside the vessel, a cloaked figure transmitted data to an unknown destination. The message was simple: the humans have discovered interdimensional phasing. One subject shows signs of quantum integration. This changes everything. The figure looked down at Earth, this small blue planet that had suddenly become the most important world in the galaxy. "The balance of power is shifting," the spy whispered, "and no one is prepared for what comes next." 1 month after the Draconian disappearance, Earth had become the center of galactic attention. Space around the planet buzzed with alien vessels, forcing Earth's governments to create new orbital traffic control systems. Trade offers, diplomatic missions, and religious pilgrims arrived daily. In a secure medical facility in Colorado, Dr. Alan Rodriguez sat in a specially designed chamber. The walls were lined with quantum dampening technology based on his own designs, drawn during his more lucid moments. The glowing patterns on his skin pulsed with a steady rhythm. General Powell and Dr. Olivia Bennett watched him through a shielded window. A team of doctors monitored his vital signs on nearby screens. "His condition is still changing," Olivia said quietly. "The quantum particles in his body are increasing. Sometimes he exists more in the other dimension than in ours." Powell's face remained grim. "Can we use what he's learning about the Draconians?" "When he's coherent, yes. He's given us valuable information about their ships, their technology, even their plans. But it comes at a cost." She glanced at the monitors. "His humanity is slipping away, General." Inside the chamber, Alan suddenly straightened. His eyes, now completely silver, fixed on a point in empty air. "They've built a test device," he said, his voice echoing strangely. "They're attempting to create a reverse quantum field." Powell pressed the intercom button. "How long until they succeed?" "Weeks, not months." Alan's gaze drifted as if watching something moving. Their scientists are brilliant and desperate. The pocket dimension is unstable. It's slowly collapsing. Across the galaxy, news of Earth's defensive capability spread like wildfire. On some worlds, humans were hailed as liberators. On others, fear took hold. In the Galactic Concord's Great Hall, representatives from over 200 worlds gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Nelta stood before them, her silver skin shimmering under the chamber's lights. "We must decide how to approach Earth," she said. "Their technology represents either our greatest hope or our greatest threat." The delegate from Proxima Centauri rose. "Their achievement against the Draconians proves they should be welcomed as full members of the Concord immediately." But others disagreed. The representative from the Sirius Coalition, a tall being with crystalline features, countered sharply. "A species that can remove an entire fleet from existence, without proper weapons or shields. They are too dangerous to be allowed free access to galactic knowledge." The debate raged for days. Meanwhile, on Earth, strange disturbances began to appear. Commander Lucy Martinez received the first reports from a monitoring station near Buenos Aires. Small objects were vanishing from a laboratory: pens, coffee cups, small tools. Then they would reappear hours later, slightly altered. The scientists were baffled. Similar reports came in from Tokyo, Cairo, and Seattle. Objects disappearing and returning changed. Local space showing unusual readings. Lucy took this information directly to Dr. Bennett. "It's starting," Olivia said after reviewing the data. "The barrier between dimensions is weakening. Small things are slipping through both ways." She looked up, her expression grave. "If this continues, larger objects will follow." "The Draconians," Lucy guessed. "Yes. Alan warned us this might happen." In Colorado, Alan Rodriguez watched the dimensional barrier thinning. Through his unique perception, he could see Draconian scout probes slipping briefly into Earth's reality before being pulled back. "They're testing the boundary," he told General Powell during their daily briefing. "Looking for weak points. The ships will attempt to cross at the thinnest sections." "Can we stop them?" Powell asked. Alan's expression was distant. "Not with conventional methods. But I've been working on something." He handed Powell a tablet filled with complex equations and designs. "A quantum anchor. It won't send them back, but it could hold them in place between dimensions. Neither fully here nor there." Powell studied the designs with confusion. "This is beyond our current technology." "Yes," Ellen agreed. "That's why I've requested a meeting with the Galactic Concord scientists. Some of them understand parts of this. Together, we might build it in time." That evening, a small ship docked at the International Space Station. Inside were three of the galaxy's most brilliant minds: Solvar of the Eldorani, Chief Scientist Mela from the Proxima Centauri systems, and Technologist Graven of the Sirius Coalition. As they were escorted to Earth, Lucy Martinez watched from her command center. "Do you think they'll help us?" she asked Dr. Bennett. Olivia's reply was somber. "They have to. If the Draconians return, they won't stop with Earth. Their humiliation will demand vengeance against every world that celebrated their defeat." In orbit, unnoticed among the hundreds of alien vessels, a sleek black ship maintained perfect stealth. Its sole occupant watched Earth with keen interest. The spy transmitted another message to their unknown masters: "Dimensional breaches have begun. The humans are collaborating with Concord scientists. Intervention may be necessary to secure the quantum technology before either side can claim it exclusively." The spy focused powerful sensors on the Colorado facility. "The transformed human is the key. Extraction recommended." News of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. On thousands of worlds, countless alien species watched information packets about the small blue planet that had somehow defeated the undefeatable Draconians. The responses varied dramatically from world to world. On Proxima B, crowds filled the streets, celebrating Earth as a savior. Many wore blue and green clothing to honor the human homeworld. Their world had paid heavy tributes to the Draconian Empire for decades. Now, for the first time, they dared to stop these payments. Earth has shown us the way, their leader declared to cheering crowds. The age of draconian tyranny is over. But on other worlds, fear replaced celebration. Religious leaders on Ta City declared humans to be reality benders who threatened the fabric of creation itself. Military councils debated preemptive strikes, while Earth was still developing its defense systems. Back on Earth, Secretary General Diane Miller prepared to address the first Galactic Concord Assembly to include human representatives. Her speech would set the tone for humanity's place in galactic politics. "We must appear strong but peaceful," she told her advisors during preparation. "Too meek, and we become a target. Too aggressive, and we become a threat." The final draft of her speech sat on her desk beside a classified report she had just received. Quantum disturbances were increasing around the globe. Random objects were vanishing and reappearing more frequently. Some never returned at all. In Colorado, Dr. Alan Rodriguez worked with the alien scientists to design the quantum anchor. His condition made communication difficult. Sometimes he faded partially from view, becoming ghost-like before solidifying again. "The dimensional barrier is thinning faster than predicted," he told Sol Var, the Eldorani scientist. "We have maybe 2 weeks before larger objects can pass through." Solvar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. These calculations suggest something is accelerating the process from the other side. The Draconians are not simply waiting, they are actively weakening the barrier. Together with technologist Graven and chief scientist Milla, they worked around the clock. The device they designed resembled a massive ring of interlocking segments. Each contained technology from different worlds: human quantum processors, Eldorani phase converters, Centaurian energy cells, and Syrian stabilization crystals. On the 7th day of construction, Alan suddenly collapsed. His body flickered rapidly between solid and transparent. Dr. Bennett rushed to his side while the alien scientists backed away in alarm. "Alan, what's happening?" she asked, though she couldn't touch him when he turned transparent. His voice came as if from a great distance. "They know. The Draconians. They've detected me watching them. They're trying to pull me through completely." In the Galactic Concord Assembly Hall, Secretary General Miller approached the podium. Representatives from over 300 worlds watched intently. Her voice was steady as she addressed them. "Earth seeks peaceful relations with all civilizations based on mutual respect. We have no imperial ambitions. We simply defended our home, as any species would." As she spoke, warning lights flashed on her aide's communication device. Quantum disturbances were spiking at unprecedented levels. In Colorado, Alan's body stabilized briefly. He grabbed Dr. Bennett's arm with surprising strength. "They're coming through," he gasped. "Not just scouts, ships. They found a weak point in the dimensional barrier. Across Earth, monitoring stations detected massive energy fluctuations. In orbit, Commander Lucy Martinez received frantic reports from ground stations. Multiple anomalies detected, Commander. Large-scale quantum disruptions in 7 locations, the same positions as our original quantum facilities. Lucy immediately contacted General Powell. "Sir, we need to evacuate those areas immediately. Something's coming through." In his command center, Powell stared at the incoming data with growing horror. "Get the Secretary General back from the Concord immediately, and tell Dr. Bennett to activate the quantum anchor, ready or not." Aboard the stealth ship in Earth orbit, the mysterious spy received new orders. The message was brief: "Extract Rodriguez now. Use any means necessary." The spy checked weapons systems and prepared for descent. Target locked. Beginning approach to Colorado facility. At the Concord Assembly, Secretary General Miller finished her address to polite applause. As she stepped away from the podium, Ambassador Nelta approached with an urgent expression. "Secretary General, our sensors detect massive dimensional disturbances on Earth. If the Draconians are returning, you need to know they never show mercy to those who defy them. And now, they will be driven by vengeance. Miller's face remained composed, though her heart raced. Ambassador, Earth stood against them once. We will do so again, but we would welcome the Concord's assistance. That may be difficult, Nelta replied grimly. The Council is divided. Some fear what will happen when the Draconians return. Others fear what might happen if humans gain too much power from your quantum discoveries. As they spoke, the first signs of the Draconians' return began, not with violence, but with a message that appeared simultaneously on every communication device across Earth. We are coming back. And this time, your world will burn. 6 months after the disappearance of the Draconian Armada, Earth was transformed. Alien technology had been carefully integrated into human society. Defense satellites with Syrian shields orbited the planet. El-Durrani sensors monitored the dimensional barriers. And in Colorado, Dr. Alan Rodriguez finally woke from a month-long coma. The hospital room was specially designed to stabilize his quantum state. His skin still showed the branching patterns, but they no longer glowed as brightly. Dr. Olivia Bennett sat beside his bed, reviewing data on a tablet. "Welcome back," she said, noticing his open eyes. "You've been unconscious since the anchor activation." Alan's voice was clearer than it had been in months. Did it work? Before she could answer, General Powell entered with Commander Lucy Martinez. Their expressions were grim but determined. "Partially," Powell said. "The quantum anchor is holding most of the Draconian fleet in the space between dimensions. They can't fully return, but they can't retreat either." "How many got through before we activated it?" Alan asked. Lucy stepped forward. 17 ships. But the Galactic Concord helped us contain them. The situation is complicated. Indeed, the galactic political landscape had shifted dramatically. Earth was now the center of an unprecedented alliance. 62 worlds had signed mutual defense pacts with humanity. Alien diplomats walked the corridors of power in every major nation. "The Draconians trapped by the anchor are growing desperate," Powell explained. "They can partially materialize, enough to communicate but not to attack. Their admiral has been demanding we release them or destroy them completely." Alan sat up slowly. "They would rather die than remain trapped between dimensions." "Yes, and many in the Galactic Concord think we should oblige them." Powell's voice was heavy. "But we have another option on the table." Dr. Bennett handed Alan her tablet. On the screen was a complex set of equations, a modified version of his original quantum field design. "We think we can control the dimensional shift more precisely now," she explained. "Target specific coordinates rather than a general phase shift." "You want to bring them back," Alan realized. "But send them somewhere specific." "An uninhabited star system," Lucy confirmed. "The Concord has designated an area far from any civilization where they can be contained and monitored." Alan studied the calculations. "This might work, but we'd need to send someone to communicate with them directly, someone who can exist in both dimensions." Everyone in the room looked at him. Alan nodded slowly. "I understand. It has to be me." Outside the Colorado facility, a diplomatic shuttle landed. Secretary General Miller stepped out with Ambassador Nelta and representatives from 20 other worlds. This would be the most significant negotiation in Earth's history. In orbit, the remains of the Draconian fleet hung like ghostly shadows, visible only to specialized sensors. Their ships flickered between realities, sometimes solid enough to register on scanners, sometimes completely absent. From the command ship, Admiral Zornfar watched Earth with hatred and newfound respect. 6 months trapped between dimensions had changed him. He had seen realities no Draconian had ever witnessed. "The humans contact us again," his communications officer reported. "Put them through," Zornfar ordered. The screen showed an unusual human, one whose body seemed to shift between states of matter. Behind him stood representatives of multiple species, including several the Draconians had previously conquered. "Admiral Zornfar," Dr. Rodriguez began, I am authorized to offer you and your fleet a way out of dimensional limbo. At what cost? The Admiral asked suspiciously. Relocation to a designated system, no contact with former Draconian territories for 100 years, and recognition of Earth's sovereign right to exist free from any future aggression. Zornfar laughed bitterly. You offer terms as if you were the eternal empire, not a primitive world that got lucky. Alan's form flickered as he leaned closer to the screen. We weren't lucky, Admiral. We understood something fundamental about reality that you didn't. And now, 62 worlds stand with us. The old galaxy is gone. Either adapt to the new one or remain trapped forever. The negotiations lasted 3 days. In the end, necessity overcame pride. The Draconians agreed to the terms. 1 week later, Earth activated a modified version of the original quantum device. The ghostly Draconian ships solidified briefly, then vanished in a flash of light, this time transported to the distant system where they would begin again. As the dimensional disruptions finally settled, Alan Rodriguez stood with Dr. Bennett watching the night sky. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? She asked. They'll have to, he replied. The galaxy is watching now. On worlds across the stars, news spread quickly. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had shown mercy to a merciless enemy. Some called it weakness. Others recognized it as the strongest position of all. In the halls of the Galactic Concord, Earth's representatives took their permanent seats. A new era had begun. And as other species struggled to understand what made humans different, Earth's scientists quietly continued their research into the quantum boundaries between dimensions. Because somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between stars, were threats that might someday make the Draconians seem minor in comparison. And when that day came, humanity would be ready.